I know it's incredibly hard to evaluate because you start looking at what functionality you need, but you don't realize that when you buy a software that's business critical. I mean, when you implement a vacation rental software, if you don't have one today, it's not like you try out ChatGPT and then never use it again or then use it daily. No, this is something that your entire business is going to run on that platform. And it's like moving to a new house. It's not something that you look at and then you walk out the door and you never come back again. No, you're going to come back there every single day until you move to your next home.
Welcome to Short-Term Rental Solutions, a show for hosts and property managers looking to overcome obstacles, maximize revenue, and optimize their short-term rental business by learning from the innovators who are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Short-Term Rental Solutions Show. Today, we're going to be talking about property management software. It's one of those things that we're always evaluating whether we're using the right one and is it appropriately meeting our needs. And I hear that conversation going on constantly among hosts and property managers. So we're really fortunate today because we have Marcus Räder, who's one of the co-founders and CEO of Hostaway, and he is going to be giving us some of his insights about property management software, especially looking into 2024 as we're kind of kicking off the year and looking at kind of the current kind of pulse of where things are and where things are likely to be going in the future. So Marcus, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I have a lot of opinions about vacation rental software, as you can imagine.
Absolutely. So would you just take a moment here at the beginning of the show to introduce yourself to our listeners and give us a little background? And actually, wait, before I kick you off on that, I wanted to let everybody who's watching or listening today know that kind of at the end of our just general conversation about property management software, Marcus is very generous and he's going to actually take us into the Hostaway platform and give us an idea of what it actually looks like. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, as opposed to watching it on YouTube, be sure to follow the link that will be in the show notes and go catch that kind of bonus content at the end of the show if you are curious about Hostaway as a property management software, because he's actually going to personally walk us through a little bit of that platform. So, okay, Marcus, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so I'm usually known as Marcus from Hostaway, and what I do is I'm the CEO of a quite fast-growing tech company that produces vacation rental software. Just last year, we went from 100 staff to 160 staff. We have over 100, I think it's 40,000 properties now that are collectively using our platform. We got staff in, last I checked, 47 countries. We're a fully remote company. And yeah, what else? I'm an avid traveler. I own properties. I don't manage any properties. I don't have time for that, but I let others manage them. And I also frequently stay in vacation rentals. Just last year, I counted I was traveling 155 days, which is about 48% of the entire year. And that included all kinds of stays from a penthouse in Madeira to a single family home in Bonita Springs, Florida.
Wow. Yeah. All over the map, it sounds like, literally the map.
Yes, exactly. I have to travel a lot for work, but I do enjoy travel. But it's funny you should mention that people seem to be talking about which vacation rental software to choose, because about 8 years ago, when I started pitching the idea to friends and, well, pretty much anyone who wanted to listen, eventually I got in touch with some investors and I was pitching to them. You know, if you want to solve a problem, you better make sure that the problem is big enough and that you can define that problem. And you also need to make sure that the solution to that problem is good enough. And one of the challenges we had was defining what the actual problem was, because a vacation rental software does so many things related to the operations, from marketing, sales, accounting, cleaning, just making sure you get the visibility when a new way of marketing those properties come up. Yeah, run your website, But when new things happen in the industry, and they happen all the time, you need to make sure that you stay up to date, because otherwise your competitors will use that and you will miss out. It's that simple. And we tried a lot of problem solution slides in our pitch deck, but eventually a few years ago it clicked. The problem is that people just want a good vacation rentals, and the solution is a good vacation rental software. It's really that simple. That being said, building it is incredibly hard because it's a fragmented market. So no matter where you are managing your properties or how many you have, you are going to run your business differently than your neighbor, differently than other property managers in your city, but also differently from people in other sides of the state, the country, or the planet. And that makes it incredibly difficult to build a versatile software that works for as many as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting kind of the journey that Hostaway has taken. What year did you guys officially launch?
So we launched the company in 2016, well, December 2015, but the first version wasn't ready until 2 years later because it takes quite a long time. So I think we launched in 2017. So that was, wow, it's 2024 already. Time flies.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty rapid growth and trajectory. I'm curious if there was any lessons along the way that you learned that you feel could be relevant for us as property managers and hosts.
Absolutely. I have grown this company by spending most of my hours when I'm awake talking to property managers. And there is so much I can relate to their business. They're trying to get something going. Some of them have a great foundation and they just don't know where to go next. And building a software company is exactly the same, like becoming a successful property manager. I'd say the one thing that I noticed between our failures in the beginning and successes later on, and also property managers that succeed, is those who are humble enough to admit that you're not unique. Your business models is not unique at all. You actually don't do it differently. There's others who are doing the exact same thing that you are, and many of them are better than you, but they might be in a different market. They might not be your competitor. You will gain a lot if you learn from them. And that's exactly what we did. Instead of looking at other vacation rental software companies, we were looking at, okay, what are other software as a solution? It's called vertical solution when you're focused on just one thing, like a restaurant solution or gym software, for example. That's a vertical solution. What are other verticals doing? What is the gym software solution space doing? What did they figure out? And then learn from that. That helped us tremendously. But it required about 4 or 5 years of struggle to come to that realization, because whenever someone criticized, an outsider criticized our business and said, why don't you do this? Our response was we were so defensive. We said, oh yeah, that works for those others, but it doesn't work for us because we're different. And yes, every business is unique, but there are certain rules that once you manage to define your business and compare it to something else, then it's not unique at all. No, it's exactly the same as all the other businesses that are similar.
Yeah. And so what I think I hear you saying is, finding that humility, finding that ability to kind of, own where you are and what you're doing, and then really be flexible and willing to look around you and, look for opportunities to grow and build on what you see other people doing and succeeding. Is that right?
Exactly. We sometimes come across, we have hundreds of customers joining us every month, and we talk to them all. Sometimes they're doing things differently, and not in a good way always. Sometimes they're doing things differently in an excellent way. But when we highlight it to them that, hey, your business could be more successful if you just did it like these thousands of others are doing it, because that's the way, that's usually the best. If they go and say, oh, but our business is different or our business is unique, probably they're going to either have to change attitude down the road, or their business will inevitably fail, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. So talking about property management software now, it's it's been a very interesting space to watch, over the last few years because of, lots of companies coming in, the real growth and evolution of the feature sets and different things that property management softwares are offering. And so I'm really curious if you would share your insights with us as far as kind of what you've seen and where you see things going as we're, looking into 2024 here.
There's a couple of misconceptions that are quite common when, especially when property managers talk about vacation rental software. I could address two of them. The first one is that it's switching software is the most difficult thing you have to do in your life. It actually doesn't have to be that hard because the switch takes less than a day. And the efficiencies when you switch to another, and I'm not saying switching to Hostaway is the best decision for anyone. It can be whatever switch you're doing. There are benefits you get from that. It's like if you're switching from not having a car to suddenly having a car. Yeah, it's a tough switch, but there's certainly benefits to having a car. It's the same thing when you switch vacation rental software. There's going to be functionality in the new software, which is why you chose it, that you didn't have before. And any time spent on the transition will be so quickly saved that switching isn't hard anymore. Besides, all the data is, or most of the data is automatically pulled in already. The other myth that used to be true a couple of years ago is that there's so many solutions out there. I've heard it ever since I started this business, and it was only when someone said it a few months ago that I realized that wait a second, that's not true at all. There used to be a lot of solutions, but most of them stayed small and have fallen behind. They don't have the technology that's demanded today. And actually the big solutions out there, there's basically only 3 or maybe 4 of them. And when you look at, when you start narrowing it down by, let's say, budget, or narrowing it down by geography, let's say you're based in Tennessee or you're based in South Africa, those are 2 different markets, then the amount of options you have get fewer and fewer. So usually you end up having only 2 choices when you choose your software. So saying that there's so many different softwares out there, that's not really true. For most people, after they evaluate the situation, there's only 1 or 2 solutions. And in many cases, there's actually only 1 solution available to them.
Yeah, that really makes sense for them. I agree with you in the sense that people look, I mean, even on STR Hub, we have so many of the property management software solutions listed out there. But as you start to, dig in and do some analysis and research, I do agree with you in the sense that it's relatively easy for people to funnel down and find that there is truly just a handful that are likely to make good sense for, where you individually are in your business and what your goals are for like maybe the next 5 years, and what features you feel are really important to you in having in your property management software for your business. So, but it's interesting because people get like this analysis paralysis where they just get stuck, and they know that they, want to make a switch, but they just spend an inordinate amount of time feeling stuck and in a tizzy, and just asking dozens of different people, or asking online, and there's just as many opinions as there are people. And so in a way, I think it's really important that people kind of really get super clear about what their needs are, and kind of try to drown out a little bit of that noise and chatter that other people have, so that people can make a decision that really is a good fit for them and their business.
Yeah, I know it's incredibly hard to evaluate because you start looking at what functionality you need, but you don't realize that when you buy a software that's business critical. I mean, when you implement a vacation rental software, if you don't have one today, it's not like you try out ChatGPT and then never use it again, or then use it daily. No, this is something that your entire business is going to run on that platform. And it's like moving to a new house. It's not something that you look at and then you walk out the door and you never come back again. No, you're going to come back there every single day until you move to your next home. So one good example differentiator is, some people, they want a software where they can sign up themselves and they never have to talk to a human being. They simply don't want to. And usually the reason is that they know more about technology than the people working at technology companies. And I can say right away, for those people, probably Hostaway is not a good option. But then again, some people, they prefer to talk to someone and ask them questions and maybe have someone show them and set up the software together with them. That's something that you don't see that directly on the website. You don't see that in the reviews, whether companies do that or not. But that can be a differentiator that many people don't even think about. So it's not only about the functionality and price; it's also how is it packaged, and does it fit you? Is it what you're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with this evolution of property management software, and I don't know, I'm just curious, what do you feel like are still some of the needs that hosts and property managers have that you see in this general category of property management software still moving forward to kind of meet those needs of hosts and property managers?
No, I said a couple of years ago, there's no software that meets the needs of vacation rental property managers, and that still holds true today, I would say. I think on average, if you take our customers that have more than 10 properties, we have a lot of customers that have less than 10 properties, but those that have more, they use on average 5 different technology solutions. Now, that doesn't sound like there's one technology that just works for you. I like comparing to cars, but how come every car that I rent or own or drive, I have to plug in my phone so that I can get Google Maps on it? Why isn't there a car that has that automatically? There isn't a perfect car for me because each one I have to plug in my iPhone. And yeah, it's the same thing in the vacation rental software space still. And I think that it will be like that for a couple more years. But if we look at what Inhabit IQ did, they bought 36 different companies. Now, they failed to integrate them. So you actually have to buy each separate service. You have to buy insurance from one of their companies. You have to buy payment processing from another one of their companies, and then the PMS. And then you have to buy your website from another company. Suddenly you're using 4 companies. But I believe that Hostaway will be the one to offer a true all-in-one solution.
That's interesting. Well, and I mean, you're 100% right. I don't think there's a host or a property manager out there that doesn't, have a property management software solution, a dynamic pricing solution, maybe a guest screening and like damage insurance solution, all these different things that we kind of piece together to create, whatever tech stack feels right for us and our business. And I mean, how great would that be if things can continue to evolve where there can be more and more consolidation? And I feel like I'm already seeing that happen not only in the property management software space, but, companies who entered the short-term rental industry, kind of pitching one primary product, but now the feature set of those companies is continuing to expand and grow. And so we're beginning to see a ton of overlap. And, one of the questions that we may be asking ourselves in 2024 and, as we look into 2025 is, you know, what am I potentially going to be taking off of my tech stack instead of growing your tech stack? Like as things start to consolidate and have more and more features, you may go from needing 5 or 6, integration partners and solutions down to like 4 or 3, or, continuing to whittle that down.
Yeah, not to mention that a lot of the auxiliary services, they have been funded by VC capital, and because of the rising interest rates, that money is no longer available. So I mean, on our marketplace, we have almost 200 integrated software partners, and some of them are incredibly successful, profitable companies, like Airbnb, for example. You can't admit that they're not profitable because they release that every quarter. And many of our just pure technology partners as well are very big. Some of them are even bigger than us. But still, there's a lot of good technology out there that doesn't have a viable business model, in the sense that they're not able to turn the business to make a profit. And eventually what that means is that those technologies will either be sold or the business will be sold and consolidated. And like you said, this has happened already. I mean, Inhabit IQ has bought 36 of them.
Yeah.
Guesty has bought, I think they bought 5 of them already. So
Yeah.
it's already taken place.
It's definitely changing. Well, and even just when we look a little wider than the just pure technology tech stack type thing, we're seeing, a lot of changes in jockeying with the different OTAs and meta search platforms. All of these things, our field is still so dynamic and changing so rapidly. What do you see as you look around and see all these different channels? And I mean, Google Vacation Rental is starting to come up, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's going to be less innovation in the space at some point. But especially the last 3 years have seen tremendous increases in technology. For example, the adoption of smart locks, the adoption of self check-in, and just Google Travel is another example of something that changes things completely, because they don't charge a commission, and they don't intend to. That's not their business model. They want to be top of mind. That's their mission as a company, and that's why they're in this space. And but there will be a slowdown in the needs. I mean, when you look at a smartphone today, it pretty much does exactly the same thing it did 5 years ago. You can use it to send messages to your friends, you can be on social media, you can surf the web, you can read your email. You could do that 5 years ago. There's a limit to how much more you need. I mean, when you have your smart lock and your smart thermostat integrated in a home that you don't have access to on a daily basis, maybe because it's rented out, there's a limit to that. You don't need to automate door and window sensors everywhere. But even if you do, you don't need a sensor on the coffee maker. Who cares when someone is making coffee? There's a certain bell curve when things take off and new solutions come. And I feel like we're right now on the top here. And now from here on, we're going to see fewer new solutions. And instead, those solutions that are here now, they are going to be better. So instead of coming up with new things, we're going to see just improvements to the things that already exist.
Yeah, the cream will
I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, the cream will start kind of rising to the top, as it were, as people identify and kind of migrate to those strongest solutions in whichever category it is, property management software, pricing software, et cetera, et cetera. Things are, kind of the consolidation that naturally happens over time as a result of those types of things. So can I get nosy a little bit?
Sure.
In the sense that I know last year was a really big year for Hostaway, in the sense that you guys got a ton of private equity. Tell me a little bit about that story, and what are you guys planning to do with that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think when you have a good, first of all, last year was apparently a really bad year for a lot of businesses. It was bad because a lot of businesses grow based on momentum, and that momentum died off. So let's say if a company has been growing 20% per year for many years, and suddenly start growing 50% per year for 2 years in a row, if it goes back to 20%, that means they need to fire people. It's that simple. And that's exactly what happened last year. Fortunately, the economy is strong, so we don't have high unemployment. But still, especially in the tech space, with the lack of funding, there was a lot of things going on, and we ended up being one of the winners. But I think that one of the main reasons why we wanted to make this move now was that because we're so young, we didn't have the reputation that we thought we deserved. It may sound very paradoxical compared to the humbleness that I promoted earlier, but basically, if you're doing good work, you want to be recognized for that. And on one hand, we could go and talk to partners like Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, the biggest companies in the entire space, and they recognized that we were one of the market leaders. But then we could go into a room full of property managers. Many of them had never even heard about us. And we thought, this can't go on. We can't just be the guys who nobody's ever heard about forever. And that's why we wanted to make a bigger splash in the pond, so to speak. Now, what's going to happen with that money is it will fuel our growth, but it's essentially a war chest for acquisitions. So the consolidation, where we are already in the consolidation game, we're talking to companies all the time, but we need to see also the market grow and companies be successful enough so that we can start talking about consolidation. And as we can see from the amount of acquisitions has certainly gone down. It's not only in our space, but in tech in general, the number of acquisitions just fell off a cliff in the third quarter of 2023. So right now, basically, the good companies, they don't want to be acquired, and there's only the bad ones left. And those, nobody wants to acquire those. So we're waiting for the markets to get a bit more excited.
That will be interesting to see. And yeah, we'll definitely keep our eyes peeled and watch for press releases from Hostaway to, see what you guys are doing and, keep a pulse on that. That will be fascinating to watch. So I'm curious, as you think about, Hostaway and what you guys have put together, who do you feel are kind of the ideal Hostaway users?
So one thing that separates us from, I'd say, most other solutions out there is that we have one brand and one product for essentially three different target audiences. So there's a lot of solutions that target only one of them. There's, for example, enterprise, typically known as property managers that have more than 200, sometimes more than 100 properties. There's solutions that only target them. But those solutions don't work when you have 15 properties. And there's solutions that target those property managers. But those solutions also don't work when you have one or two properties. And this is what we're doing differently. So we have built our product coming into a very fragmented market. We have built it in a way so that it scales up and also scales down. So we really have three distinct user groups. One is those smaller ones, like my neighbor. He owns a cottage that he rents out, but in the summer he likes spending time there, so he rents out his home. And he recently bought and renovated a second cottage, and he uses Hostaway for all three platforms. And for him, it's great. He can automate the smart locks. He can communicate with the cleaners and schedule them, and he can set up automations for all his guests and manage payments. And increasingly, he's renting more and more to friends. So having a direct booking website is great. Then the mid-size, those are typically companies that have grown to, let's say, 10, 20, sometimes 50 properties, and they want to accelerate their growth. They're seeing that they had a great growth spurt, but it's now leveling off, and they need to find more efficient ways of doing things. And what usually happens when businesses grow is you get this feeling that whatever used to work for us doesn't work anymore. And that's because it's no longer the same business and you need change. But you might need, well, what a lot of people get wrong about businesses, they think if there's only one big change I can make. And I know there's a lot of people out there who sell that one big change. It's a bit like the weight loss industry. Nobody wants to hear complex solutions where you need to do a lot of things. You need to eat a lot of things differently. You need to exercise differently. No, they want a simple solution, like just one pill, and that will do it. But for businesses, it's even more complex than weight loss. You need hundreds of small things to change to see true success. And that's where I think the biggest value comes in. Then we have the enterprise solutions. They're typically looking for improved support, because for them, if there's one part of the software that they use, let's say with 500 properties, you have 200 check-ins a day, then you might be using a functionality 200 times a day. If that one doesn't work the way you want it to, it needs to be changed. It needs to be fixed, because if you're spending even a few minutes extra, that's 400 minutes of paid work that goes to waste, and that becomes incredibly expensive. And we are able to cater to those very well, and I think our reviews speak the truth on that. So yeah, we really don't have one ICP. We have three ideal clients of us.
Yeah, well, I'm completely, the reason I asked that question is because you're 100% correct in the sense that there are different solutions that have been crafted and created for those enterprise level users versus the self-managing owner. And so that's one of the things one of the first questions that people ask when they're looking at potential solutions is, does this solution even, am I one of the people that they try to serve? Because, if you're a major property management company, you're automatically going to start crossing certain companies off your list because you're like, I know that they're not really a good fit for me. And there's some property management software companies that don't even want to talk to you. Like, they won't even schedule a demo with you unless you have a certain number of properties. Like, the pop-up on their website asks you, like, the first question, how many properties do you have or manage? And if you don't meet that criteria, then basically they have a nice way of saying you're probably not a good fit for our solution. So it is always helpful to kind of know, so that as people are looking at this decision, they can go to the people who are likely to, be more likely to be a good fit.
That's right. But I think you can find a lot of that information in the reviews. Between the lines, you can always read what kind of businesses are there out there. And if you see a review that's genuine, or let's say has a lot of text, you can read there. Is that person writing like I would be writing? Then probably it's the right solution for you. But if the language sounds strange to you, I'll give a good example. If you're an English speaker and all the reviews are in Spanish, then there is a slight chance that you're not the same fit as the typical customer.
Yeah. Well, and you can sometimes people like drop little things that let you know that, oh, that's a property management company, or, oh, that's a small operator. And so absolutely. So Marcus, I know that you guys were willing to, for people who maybe are here at the relative beginning of 2024, going on this journey, trying to figure out what's a good fit for them. You guys were willing to, kind of extend a special offer for people. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we help all our new customers get the system set up. There's a million questions you should be asking yourself. And if you're not asking them, we can help you. We can provide the questions, but more importantly, we can provide you the answers. Now, as a result of that, we charge a one-time setup fee of $500. And for anyone listening to this show, I can promise you half price on that.
Yeah, that's great. So kind of that onboarding process is what you're saying, helping people not get stuck in the weeds when they're trying to, either transfer from a solution that they may already have, or, kind of get going maybe with a property management software company for the very first time as they're looking to grow and scale here in this coming year. So thank you so much. That's very generous. And Marcus, where should people reach out if they're interested in taking you up on that?
The easiest is to just go on hostaway.com, and I think we have a million buttons there that lead you one way or the other to schedule a call with our sales team.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, hey, everybody, thank you for joining us on today's episode. As Marcus said, your property management software is kind of mission critical for the operations of your business. So it's really interesting to have had this conversation with him and be able to learn a little bit about what he sees, kind of from where he sits as a CEO of one of these companies, which is quite different from where we sit as the property management companies and the, hosts and owners. So really appreciated the insights that you shared and the information that you shared about Hostaway. And kind of on that note, I want to reiterate that Marcus and I are going to continue our conversation. I'm going to let him share his screen, and he's going to actually take us around the Hostaway platform a little bit and familiarize us with that. So, if you're curious about what they have to offer and what the Hostaway platform actually looks like, please be sure to check the show notes and follow us over onto YouTube, where you will get to see that content as well. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us this week. And be sure to tune in next week when we'll be having our next conversation with the innovators who are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. Okay, Marcus, let's transition here.
All right.
I'm going to put the Hostaway right on the screen here, and I'm just going to shut up and let you start talking and explaining to us where we are and what we see and a little bit about Hostaway.
All right. Sounds good. I'll ask the sales team for feedback later on. I haven't personally been in the sales team for over 2 years now and done a demo like this. So this is quite exciting. Now, let's start with a quick walkthrough here of what Hostaway is. So vacation rental software. We're different from other solutions in two aspects. And if you look at our reviews, you can just Google best vacation rental software, and I'm sure one of the top results there will lead you to Hostaway reviews. You'll find that, first of all, we are a very personalized service. So if you want to talk to someone, you can talk to someone. It's that simple. Second of all, we are a very scalable solution. We actually have 3 ideal client profiles. The small owners, typically 1 to 5 properties. Then property managers, small to mid-size. They typically have between 10 and let's say 100. And then enterprise, which is more than 100 properties. And this software can work differently depending on which group you belong to. But how did we end up building this software in the first place? Well, we quickly realized that a lot of the business, well, we followed the money. A lot of the money in vacation rentals comes through the OTAs. Now, why is that? Because they have big marketing budgets. So someone who has never thought about renting a vacation rental, they will see a TV ad for maybe Verbo or maybe Airbnb, and then they'll consider it. They'll go on the website and they end up booking a place. And we wanted to make sure that we build a software that has the best possible connections to all of these. So once again, Google is your friend, or you can ask ChatGPT if you prefer that. Just ask them, who are the best software partners of Airbnb? And they'll give you a list, and we'll be on that list. Then ask who are the best software partners or highest tier software partners of Booking.com, Google Travel, Verbo, Homes and Villas, and Expedia. And they'll give you Hostaway. And there's almost no other companies that have all those statuses. Now, these aren't like airline statuses that they don't actually get used unless you travel, because we use these connections with hundreds of thousands of properties every day. Now, what it means for you as a user is, first of all, you can feel safe. There's nothing wrong with the software. If something goes wrong, we immediately notice it. Actually, these partners, they don't mess around. Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia doesn't mess around. So if something were to not work, they would notice it immediately and they would drop us as a preferred partner. So we indeed have the ability to get and send data to all of these partners. Now, when you start using Hostaway, there's one of the amazing things is that the setup is almost automated. You're able to connect. If you have your properties available on, let's take Airbnb as an example here, we can import most of the data from there. We can import your rates, your availability, your existing bookings, your photos, your descriptions. We know how many bedrooms each listing has, and that saves a huge amount of time. Now, if you don't use Airbnb, that's okay. We can also import from Verbo or even from a spreadsheet. So if you're using some other system today, you can export, for example, all your reservations and your listings, and we can import those for you. Now, one of the things that sets us aside, besides the excellent channel connections here, is our unified inbox. But before I go there, I just wanted to say that there's a lot of functionality here. As you can see on the left side of the screen, there's a lot of functionality, but there's also other softwares out there that have this functionality. What really makes this different is that everything is connected. And I can't emphasize how important that is. So as you see here, our newest feature is smart locks. I'll give a good example. A guest makes a booking. Next week, they're going to come, and the code is 1234. Now, then the guest decides to cancel. Now, a software that would only have smart locks, that code would still work. The guest could still go there and not pay. But in our system, everything is connected. So if the guest cancels, we will cancel the code. We will also cancel the cleaning. We will cancel all outgoing messages to that guest. And of course, we'll cancel the automated review of that guest. Now, here's our unified inbox. This is one of the core functionalities of a PMS. Is the ability to talk to your guests regardless of how they made the booking. Now, a lot of other softwares might have something they call like this. They call unified inbox, but it actually works through email or text message. That's not the case with us at all. We work with the real channels. So if you book through Airbnb and send a message through Hostaway, the guest is going to receive the message through Airbnb. And same thing for Verbo and Booking.com. And one of the, you can automate pretty much everything here. And this is also made for larger property managers. So you can delegate conversations, you can tag people, you can assign them. And one of our latest, let's see what happens here. AI suggested reply. Wow. Someone asked how far the unit is from the CN Tower, and seems it's 2 miles. It's on the 12th floor and offers stunning city views.
That's great.
And what's included? Let's see the AI result. Yeah, we so far don't automatically send these AI responses. Oh, essential amenities like towels, linens, and a fully equipped kitchen. So we are in the process of incorporating more and more AI into the platform itself, and the messages are just a start. There's also descriptions. Those can be quite interesting, because how you talk about your properties makes a massive difference to someone who sees it on a platform like Airbnb. So that's a unified inbox. We have a lot of message templates, automations. You can manage a lot of things here. You can search. We also have a global search. So if you want to search for a guest or for a user, you can always find them. Then I'll show you the most useful tool we have. This is our sales demo account. We can't really show real customer accounts. So here you can see a multi-calendar. As you see, it loads really quickly. And this works also on mobile. Now, as you can see, there's a couple of grouped units here. So you're able to, well, one thing I can say that really separates us and why this is a fragmented market is that the needs of property managers can differ. And we see here on the calendar one example. Here's a waterfront condo, that's one unit. Many property managers have just single units, but there's other property managers that have so-called multi-units, or sometimes they group them together. You can have a big house that's actually a duplex, but you can rent out either half of it or the other half, or you can rent out the entire house at once, which means you have actually 3 different listings, even though it's one property. And our calendar and our channel connections can support all of that. Now, here's our smart locks. Okay, they're not connected because this is a sales demo account. So this is our newest functionality. We're able to program your smart locks depending on the guests. Then we have tasks. So different property managers, typically this is used for cleaning, but it can also be used for maintenance. So typically property managers work on 2 different models when it comes to cleaning, either the pull or the push. So the push model would be that you tell the cleaner, hey, you need to go and clean this unit on this date and this time. The opposite is also possible, where you offer the cleaners the opportunity to clean the unit and you see if someone takes it. So both of those systems work with Hostaway. And of course, you can attach checklists, you can attach photos to it. So the cleaners after cleaning can take photos and you have proof for the next guest. And here's one example of how our software is able to cater to many different target groups. You see there's a tab here, supervisor. So many of our customers, they have operations in different cities or different locations, and each location has a supervisor. So then you can filter based on that. So you can see only those that are for yourself.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
quick question here. The operations, like the team members out in the field, are they using like an app, or how are they, submitting the information that then you see those photos or whatnot?
great question. So yes, there is a mobile app. We don't have separate apps for cleaners and owners. We have actually one, and it changes depending on who you are. I can show you here the user management. So here under users, you can not only create groups, like maybe your cleaners have access to some data but not others, but you can even fully customize it. And I'll just show you here. This is called the CRUD model. You can create, edit, and delete and view different parts of the platform.
Yeah. So really customized permissions.
Yes. Now it may look complex. You wonder, should they be able to, create owner statements? Well, probably not. But the thing is, you can set these up as templates. So, for example, for a cleaner, you typically want them to view the listing and the calendar. But then when it comes to the actual cleaning tasks, you want them to be able to create new ones, view and modify, but not delete. Because if they could delete, they could just delete it and said, "What? I never saw that."
Right.
Now, another thing that we have is a booking engine. This is, looks like the sales demo actually has one.
So website, basically.
Yes. So this one comes out of the box, but it's very, very customizable. It can be on your own domain. You can change the color schemes. You can change the policies. You can change all the information that you see here. Well, this doesn't look great. All these things, all these things, all these things. You can change the way everything looks here. Wait, you can't see that because it's in a different tab. But this one is very versatile and has essentially unlimited templates. And it can be used in combination with any website. So if you got a website built on WordPress or Wix, Squarespace, you can use the booking engine there out of the box. Now, another thing that's very important is the money side. So first of all, there's three different ways to look at it. One is the guest payments. This is something you want to make sure that guests are paying, which seems simple, but when you think about a car rental or a hotel, it's actually not simple at all. They have to manually check that each guest paid. And especially for users who are used to Airbnb, where they do everything for you. And if the guest doesn't pay, Airbnb just cancels the booking. When you have your own website, yeah, you're in charge of this. But you can automate all of this with Hostaway. So you can have, using different rule sets, we have automatic payments. You can, for example, take here 50% when the reservation is created, and then 50% 30 days before check-in. And then you can also refund. You can do deposits, security deposits, and all of that. Now that's the money coming in. Then we have here analytics, and this is the real strength of the platform. This is something that I think many other platforms have as well. But one thing that makes this difference is that if you have bookings coming in from Airbnb, Vrbo, or Expedia, there's very few softwares that can get the accurate breakdown of those fees and costs into one place. And we're able to do that. So let me see if it's here. So you see this host channel fee. What that means is that regardless of where someone booked, whether they booked on your website or Airbnb, Vrbo, Expedia, Booking.com, Marriott Homes and Villas, this field will be different for each reservation, and you can consolidate that together. And this is going to be very useful not only for your accountant, you can also get the raw data, of course, but for your own analytics. So you can see how is each property doing. Well, the numbers here don't make much sense because it's a demo account.
Yeah, we get it though.
But and also you can put those together in your owner statements. So once a business grows to a certain stage, you have many different owners. You can really choose how you manage your owners. So some of our customers, they basically tell the owners, this is self-managed. You log in and you want to book your own stay, go ahead. You want to know how much money you're making, go ahead. You log in. If not, just look at your bank account. We put in the money there at the end of the month. Others want to have a completely hands-off, where they don't give owners, they give them a statement at the end of the month, and that's it. They don't want the owners to even have access to the dashboard, and that's completely fine. So we can generate PDF statements here that are sent out to the owners. Then another big piece of functionality here is our marketplace, which I believe is the biggest in the industry. We have almost 200 partners here. So if you're looking at, let's say you don't want our booking engine, but you want someone else to build one for you, we have partners here. If you want dynamic pricing providers. We got a lot of them here. Oh, wait, I need to remove that. So yeah, we got 8 of them. So you can go through them all. And of course, like I said, we're a very personal solution. So you can always ask our customer success team if you're having trouble choosing the right partner for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's cool that you guys also integrate with Zapier or Zapier. Oh, I never know how to say that company's name, but there's like the sky's the limit when you can connect with Zapier and, create these zaps to increase the functionality even more.
That's right. That's right. And maybe a couple of additional pointers here is that a lot of this functionality, first of all, like I said from the beginning, it's all cross-connected. Oh, we forgot to mention the reviews. Now you can automatically review your guests, but you can also, this isn't connected to any channels, but you can also manage your reviews. You can even reply to a guest review through here. And if you're wondering, how does that make your life easier? Yeah, if you're renting out one place only on Airbnb, you should probably stick to doing that. But once you have 10 or 15 places and you have a lot of staff working for you, then how are you going to make sure that they do their job? That's going to be very hard unless you have a centralized view where you can see that everything gets done. And just as an example, if you look at any large property manager on Airbnb, they typically do not reply to the guest reviews. And the ones who do, they really stand out. They get more bookings than anyone else. And that's because they go the extra mile. But with a software like Hostaway, it makes it a lot easier and faster to go the extra mile.
Yeah, it looks like there's a real person behind the company.
Exactly. And another thing I just wanted to highlight is that we have a great mobile app. A lot of the functionality that's needed, especially on the road, is available right in the mobile app. But also, this entire dashboard is available on a mobile browser. So even if the mobile app wouldn't have the functionality, but we actually monitor our competitors very carefully. And I can say right now, we have the best mobile app in the industry, but it doesn't mean that everything is there. A good example is if you want a certain cleaner to have access to certain pages here on the dashboard and you want to remove that, we don't have that on the mobile app because most of our customers, they set up a new user and then never touch it again. But you can access the full dashboard on your mobile device as well.
I'm going to ask you about a specific feature that's always important to me. I want to be able to send my guests a rental agreement.
Yes.
For me, I want to be able to make sure that they sign a rental agreement before they come stay. So what would that look like in your platform?
Good question. We launched it last year. Let me see here.
Like on the listing level or anything? Is there a place
Yes,
where we can?
that's a good point. Yes, it's on the listings level. We never went in here. So another thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of the data here needs to be dynamic and accessible to a lot of people. So you may want to send a message to your guest containing specific information. So we have something called custom fields. And I'll give a typical example is that maybe you want to have the same welcome message to all your guests, but those properties that have a pool, you want to include some instructions about that. But those that don't have a pool, you don't want to include instructions for that. But you still want one message because when you want to change it, let's say you're managing 20 properties, you don't want to change it 20 times. Instead, you want to change it once. That's when custom fields can be really practical. Now, here, if we go in and look at what can be created here on the listing level, we'll see that there's a custom fields. You can have attachments, license info, that's important. We also have, I forgot to mention a guest portal. So you can ask your guest to check in. And
there's the rental agreement.
And here in the guest portal, we have a rental agreement. And I can tell you, we spent a lot of time figuring out what is legal and what is not. And we ended up building our own solution instead of having something like DocuSign because it provides the same security, but it's much more flexible and easy to use for the guest. So you can edit this as you want. You can include custom fields. Here's, for example, host name and host phone, which will be
Yes.
automatically generated, and it can be different per property. So it generates an agreement that the guest has to sign, and you can create automations based on whether they sign the agreement or not. So you can, for example, charge a deposit, or you can give them an access to the building. You can send out the code to the smart lock only if they sign the rental agreement.
That's great.
And you can choose also what you ask them for. One of the important functionality here is upselling. A lot of property managers make extra revenues, sometimes quite substantial ones, especially to the profit line, by upselling additional services. For example, instead of a security deposit, they offer a deposit waiver fee that they get to keep as insurance. And there's a lot of other upselling. For example, you can partner with local companies that rent out equipment. For example, baby cribs, very popular rental item, and typically would cost, let's say, 100 a week. But if you partner up with someone, they might give you 30 out of that. So you can just promote that and then just book it in, and suddenly you make 30 extra per guest, which can be quite a lot when you calculate what is your actual profit per guest.
Right. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a short version of what we have. There's a lot of very specific functionality, like I mentioned, the multi units. So that's only relevant if you happen to manage a hotel. But
Right.
a lot of our larger property managers, they have hotels in their portfolio. So we built this software to make sure that, especially in the sales process, when someone asks, can it do this? Can it do that? The answer is always yes, it absolutely can.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for giving us this tour of Hostaway and the platform. And yeah, if any of you who've watched this have further questions or are interested in Hostaway, we'll make sure that we have a link where you can get over to Hostaway's website. We've got information over on STR Hub as well. You're welcome to go read more there and then schedule a conversation with them. But thank you again, Marcus. We really appreciate the time you spent with us, the thoughts that you shared, and letting us have a look at Hostaway.
Thank you for letting me share the results of hard work of a lot of people and from the feedback of thousands of customers. The platform wouldn't be as good if we didn't have the feedback. So if there's any existing customers out there, please keep it coming. We love talking to you.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.